In Chicago's Hyde Park neighborhood, a grande dame has been holding court at the intersection of 57th Street and Woodlawn Avenue since 1931. Austere, imposing, and at first glance hearkening back to a more ancient time, the stone construction was born of a commitment to progress and to always evolve. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Chicago. In 1921, a Unitarian minister named Von Ogden Vogt authored a book titled Art and Religion, in which he made the case that churches needed to embrace beauty and art in order to better serve their congregants' spiritual needs. 4 years after the book's publication, Vogt became the minister at First Unitarian, with his strident views of church architecture not hidden under any bushel. Humanity permanently craves beauty, he declared. The generation will soon be here which will refuse to worship in ugly buildings. The physical church at the time is a still-standing, warm, wooden hall that was, in Vogt's eyes, entirely unsatisfactory.
There's a way in which Vogt's ideas are counter-normative insofar as the Unitarian tradition, as sort of children of a Puritan aesthetic and understanding, was pushing against representation, pushing against ostentatiousness, pushing against distraction, lots of things. So when we think of the beauty, in some ways, of the New England meeting house, you think of simplicity and light to the outside. And so in some ways, having an English perpendicular Gothic cathedral is recovering a different aesthetic and a different, again, sort of semiotic sensibility than our immediate forebears.
Vogt wanted a new church, and he wanted it Gothic, for two reasons. The new physical church needed to reflect the architectural style of the surrounding University of Chicago campus. But Vogt also felt that American Protestant congregations, in their opposition to the ornamentation of Roman Catholic churches, had swung too far in their plainness. Vogt had written, "Religion cannot affect the average man unless it first gets his attention." He wanted to build a church that looked good.
Part of the peculiarity of the architecture, by which I mean its unlikeness to other things, is meant to reflect the unlikeness of the business we go about here, the divine business, the business of being different with each other. Maybe we slip into a different mode, put it in the least grandiose way possible. It's not so terrible to have church have a certain formality to it, that you come as your best self.
The construction of an imposing Gothic cathedral was made easier by a congregant named Morton Dennison Hull, who was both amenable to Vogt's plan and rich. Hull agreed to underwrite the church's upgrade from wood to stone, despite, ironically, having made his fortune in the lumber industry. Another piece of luck came with the timing of the new church's groundbreaking, October 1929.
The crash comes. People are looking hard for work. All kinds of projects are closing down. These guys didn't have their money in the stock market. They had it in bullion and other stuff that wasn't losing value, and they were able to buy whatever artistic talent they were interested in.
With construction underway, the next decision, one also faced by every college freshman, was what to put on the walls.
Von Ogden Vogt had notions of what should surround the congregation during worship. Everything they saw should have meaning that pertained to their own lives.
Function of the space is to center symbols. So when you sit there and you look up and there's a beautiful inlay, there's an inlay of a raven or something by the altar I love. It's kind of a black bird. I love it. And I find it peaceful, and it centers me, and it has meanings. So, and that's the same thing I do when I preach. I bring people in and I offer something, an idea I have. People take it somewhere else. And you say, well, how are they all unified? You preach this thing about puppy dogs and rainbows, whatever I usually preach, and everyone took something different from it. How is that a church? And I'll propose to you that's every church. And that cacophony of noise, that Tower of Babel that emerges, I said a specific thing. People heard 150 different things.
2 large cartouches act as literal and figurative parentheses around the sanctuary.
Up here we see a baby with flowers and a cradle. On the opposite side, we see a skull with palm branches and a coffin. What happens in this sanctuary is concerned with what happens between birth and death.
Every time I look at that, I think
everything that we do from the moment we're born to the day we die is
crammed between
the skull with feathers in a coffin, and on the other side it's a baby in a cradle, and they're
bookends of like what life is. You're born, and then everyone dies.
And my first feeling was scary, and why would you have an image of a skull in a church? It's about life and death, and so then it makes more sense to me. And one of the things that's cool about this room is you walk in and it just feels like some big cathedral you'd walk into in Europe, but then when you study the symbols, it's saying a lot more.
the flowers are like the new life, and the ferns are just like,
I think it's kind of metal just to have like
the start of life and then like the end of it.
and what one does in between.
Above the start and finish line cartouches, the icons on one side reflect religious sensibilities, while the others are reminders of the carrots and sticks in the secular world.
We have an inner life and an outer reality, and we're constantly navigating the two of those. Occasionally, they're going in opposite directions. Moments of moral conflict, moments of trauma and despair happen when those worlds are just very different. When the world demands of you that which your spirit will not tolerate, for instance. Most of us are trying to find a way to walk them both with integrity.
Above the altar are 4 icons that represent another important tenet of the Church's tradition.
We have characteristics of communities built in on the rest of the side. There is a clenched fist, mainly for strength and power and action. The bleeding heart is a symbol of compassion. Being called a bleeding heart is a compliment, it is not a curse. Next, we see an owl sitting atop a book, sign of knowledge, possibly wisdom. Just beyond that, there is the distant city on the hill, that imagining of what we could be. Not attributes that every human being has in compelling great measure. But in a community, you can usually find all 4 of those things, you can really get something done.
Von Ogden Vogt probably heard somewhere that a successful community requires strength, compassion, wisdom, and aspiration. But he never said where the idea came from.
And so we come together in church for community, but we make each other and we remake each other. And every time you invite another person in, you're spinning the wheel and you're taking a chance. The community is going to be changed. So we're holding in dynamic tension, risk-taking that we might be changed and we might grow larger. And the commitment to who we've been, that we might have continuity and preserve the sense of safety that lets us be who we are.
Von Ogden Vogt held the pursuit of skill and artistry in high regard. "We are not saved in spite of the flesh," he wrote, "but by understanding and developing the gifts of the bodily powers."
All that has to do with authority and ultimate meaning and stuff. This is everyday life out here. The arts, the sciences, we have the professions, physics and engineering, applied science in that instance.
There's a saw and a hammer, so that I've used a saw and a hammer myself.
okay. Yeah, that looks like an automobile.
Is that a briefcase, maybe? Ooh.
Looks like a factory, maybe.
Next one is a fish in a net. Oh, I never noticed that before.
A telescope.
See a rolling pin and like a loaf of bread.
There's like an artist palette.
Oh, this is feeling like the SAT.
The figure in the niche above the entrance is Joseph Priestley, an 18th century Unitarian. He is most well known for discovering oxygen, but he also invented the eraser, a valuable tool for when you need to make a change.
There's this artwork that kind of anchors the chancel.
What I liked about both of them, in both making them and putting them up and people's reaction to them, is that everybody kind of takes something away from them that may or may not match what my intention was, but I think that was the intention.
The both-and possibility is to hold tradition and adapt to contemporary themes and uses. And how we do that so it's not dissonant is sort of an art.
What I like about these banners is they don't fit quite as well in terms of the colors, but they're more present. I walk in and I see these colored banners and I'm just like, okay, we're alive here.
So the invitation into this church is not come into this church and we'll fix the meaning of things for you. Come into this church and we'll introduce you to a conversation about the ever unfolding mystery about the symbols that have animated this place, our lives, and our tradition for 5,000 years.
Those core elements of the symbols, I think the reason they're able to be timeless is faithfulness to an older tradition.
If anything, any risk is there are those that have become somewhat more obscure. But obscure in religion isn't necessarily bad. A little mystery, a little contemplation, a little, what does it mean? You know, what is this blackbird behind me? I don't know what the blackbird is.
Fourth one, I can't even really tell what it is.
A couple things. One is that they're two opposite castle-like structures.
I have no idea what that could be a symbol of, what it represents.
Reaching up to a bird-like figure.
And the trumpet? Heralding. Spreading the word. Is that what that signifies? You're good at this.
I don't know if it's Egyptian.
Tried to figure out what they were, had no idea.
Maybe Aztec.
I'm not actually sure.
I honestly don't know.
There's clearly an importance to it, and there's a story to be told. And it's not always obvious.
You know, as we go from the divine semiotics of the front altar to the worldly symbols as we exit the cathedral. Are they at odds? I hope not.
And we've got responsibilities informed by our values here as we go out into the world. And the concerns of the world we bring in here rather than climbing into some cloister and ignoring them.
This is a kind of temple of both and, which is a kind of spiritual way of being able to hold apparent paradox. Is it about prophetic witness and raising our voice? Or is it about serving those in need with humility? Yes, it's about those things working in some kind of integrated way, that we have courage in the moments we need courage, and we have humility where we sit down and we play the role of servant. That's the joy of it. That collision is generative, not combative. Things that we set up as arguments, you know, theist or humanist. Yes, those things.
And on the far left, jail cell.
Was it?
Jail cell?
A jail cell?
Yeah.
Geez, that's news to me. I would not have thought that's a jail cell. Okay, that is news to me. Yeah, take all this out.